Assalamu alaikum. 6 p.m. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Farzana Khan. First, the headlines. Prime Minister, in a telephonic conversation with German Chancellor today, said the intensified Indian repression in occupied Kashmir could result in massive loss of lives, which must be prevented at all costs. Foreign Minister has urged upon Japan to play its role to save armsless Kashmiris from Indian persecution. In occupied Kashmir, people have started constituting committees at local levels to protect their mothers, sisters, and daughters from Hindutva forces. President says government is undertaking all possible measures to further improve the ease of doing business in the country. US and Taliban officials have resumed talks in Qatar to firm up a deal enabling withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. Sri Lanka has confirmed that their team will visit Pakistan for ODI series next month. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan held a telephonic conversation with German Chancellor Angela Merkel today to discuss India's illegal and unilateral actions aimed at altering the disputed status of occupied Jammu and Kashmir and changing its demographic structure. The Prime Minister informed the German Chancellor that India's actions are in direct contravention of the UN Security Council resolutions, international law, and its own solemn commitments. He highlighted the dire human rights situation in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including complete lockdown, blackout on all forms of communication, and severe shortage of food and medicines. He stressed that intensified Indian repression could result in massive loss of Kashmiri lives, which must be prevented at all costs. The Prime Minister also underlined concerns about some false flag operation staged by India or some other illegal step on the line of control to divert the world's attention. The Prime Minister emphasized that India's actions have serious implications for peace and security in the region, and the international community has the responsibility to act urgently. Chancellor Angela Merkel said Germany is closely observing the situation. She underlined the importance of de-escalation of tension and resolution of issues peacefully. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has written a letter to UN High Commissioner for Human Rights and drawn her attention to several facets of seriously deteriorating human rights and humanitarian situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. According to Foreign Office spokesperson, Foreign Minister in his letter has highlighted in detail the context and consequences of India's illegal and unilateral actions of 3rd of August. The letter articulates Pakistan's deep concerns over the intensification and human suffering, further breach of the fundamental rights of Kashmiri people, and dire humanitarian situation that has arisen as a result of India's enhanced draconian measures to implement its illegal actions. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi telephoned his Japanese counterpart Taro Kono today and apprised him about the blatant human rights violations in occupied Kashmir and the regional peace and security situation. The Foreign Minister said that India intends to change the demography of occupied Kashmir through illegal steps. He said curfew has been imposed in the occupied valley since 5th of this month. Resultantly, the people of Kashmir are facing severe shortages of food and medicines. The Foreign Minister asked Japan to play its role to save the armsless Kashmiri people from the persecution of India and for regional peace and stability. The Japanese Foreign Minister said they are keeping a close eye on the entire situation. He said his country believes in upholding the human rights and rule of law. Special Assistant to Prime Minister on Information and Broadcasting, Dr. Firdaus Ashika Wan, says the United Nations and other international human rights organizations should take notice of India's atrocities in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Addressing a ceremony in Islamabad today, she said India has converted occupied territory into a jail and innocent people of Kashmir have been suffering hardships of curfew for the last 18 days. She said Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is following Hindutva and extremist policies. Meanwhile, talking to media in Islamabad today, Firdaus Ashikawan urged business community to use their linkages and connections abroad to highlight the plight of Kashmiri people and expose the true face of India. Azad Jammu and Kashmir Senior Minister Chaudhry Tariq Farooq has urged the world community to play its role for ending the continuous 19 days siege and curfew imposed by New Delhi in Indian-occupied Kashmir. Talking to media in Muzaffarabad today, he said there is acute shortage of life-saving drugs and other medicines in occupied valley, and if the world human rights bodies do not come forward to end the curfew, then thousands of patients may die in coming days. In occupied Kashmir, the people have started constituting committees at street level to protect their mothers, sisters, and daughters from humiliation and molestation threat imposed by Hindutva forces in uniform and civils. The move comes in the wake of some derogatory remarks of fanatic leaders of communal Bharatiya Janata Party and other communal Hindu forces that their members now could go to occupied Kashmir, settle in the territory, and marry the Kashmiri women. This is Radio Pakistan giving you the news. President Dr. Alif Alvi says the government is undertaking all possible measures to further improve the ease of doing business in the country. He was talking to a delegation of Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Islamabad today. The president said business environment has already shown a significant improvement as compared to last year. He appreciated the role being played by the business community for the economic development of the country. Chairman of Prime Minister's Task Force on Energy, Nadeem Babar, says the government intends to increase the share of renewable energy by setting long-term targets. He was addressing the concluding session of two-day consultative meetings for finalization of Pakistan's new draft alternative and renewable energy policy 2019 in Islamabad today. Finance Ministry has rejected media reports being circulated about Pakistan being blacklisted by FATF's Asia Pacific Group as incorrect and baseless. In its reaction to the news published in the Indian media about Pakistan being blacklisted by the Asian Pacific Group, the Finance Ministry in a statement clarified that the group in its 22nd annual meeting held in Canberra, Australia, adopted Pakistan's third mutual evaluation report and has put Pakistan in its enhanced follow-up as per the APG's third round mutual evaluation procedures. The United States and the Taliban officials have resumed talks in Qatar to firm up a deal enabling the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. The U.S. official says U.S. Special Representative Zalmay Khalilzad will inform the top Afghan leaders about the peace deal and then finalize a declaration to end the war in Afghanistan. A UN independent international fact-finding mission on Myanmar has concluded that Myanmar government has failed to meet its responsibility under the Genocide Convention to investigate and punish acts of genocide. In a report, the mission said the Myanmar military intended to perpetrate genocide on ethnic Rohingya Muslims when it drove thousands of them from the country in 2017. The report also said that such violence against civilians was only possible in a climate of long-standing tolerance and impunity where military personnel have the reasonable fear of punishment or disciplinary action. Russian President Vladimir Putin has told the Defense Ministry and other government agencies to analyze the threat posed by a new U.S. missile test and to prepare a reciprocal response. Chairing a meeting with members of the Security Council in Moscow, Russian President said, "We have never wanted to be involved in a costly, destructive arms race." Sri Lankan cricket team is coming to Pakistan next month to play 3 ODIs and T20s. This was confirmed by Sri Lankan Sports Minister Harin Fernando while talking to a reporter in Colombo. And finally, the weather report. Mainly hot and humid weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 12 hours. However, rain and wind thunderstorm is expected at isolated places in Malakand, Rawalpindi, Gujranwala, and Lahore divisions, Islamabad, Gilgit-Baltistan, and Kashmir. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.